And I am Kevin Kvalvik. Just traditionally, my students have called me by my last name. So if you call me Mr. K or Kvalvik, that'd be most comfortable for me, just because I try to keep a sort of a formal environment when I'm instructing, so I'm not, I don't know. So you guys just are sort of where there's sort of this comfort level in classes, and that sort of helps me out. Anyways, welcome. So I'm going to do a few things. Now, not everybody has a laptop, and you don't have to. The people who are in class, you will, be getting sort of a sense of what's going on by what I share on the board and what I say. But at the same time, what I need to do is I need to make sure that the folks at distance can hear me. And if you're in the room and I ask you to raise your hand and you have a laptop, just go ahead and do that, just so the people remotely can sort of see what you're doing. And if I ask you to interact in other ways, we can. If you have your laptop, feel free to do that. But don't feel obligated to bring one, because you're not going to get a whole lot out of me saying or asking the class a given question. And you can't see what everyone says because you're all sitting here. But anyways, it really helps the remote people if I ask people, hey, are you getting it? If so, raise your hand on the board there, and everybody says, oh yeah, I can do that. So a couple of things. Let's see. Right now I am sharing my screen. I'm also going to pull up my control panel here, and I'm going to move that over to the other control so that we can all sort of see who the attendees are remotely. Now, if you are in class with your computer, I'll be showing you some stuff that's on the Moodle site, or the My Courses site, right where you go here, because I'm going to be using that to have interactions with the class as a whole. And then there's some things, if you didn't bring your computer, I will ask you to tell me sometime today that you were here, although I have another way of that role being taken. However, you get points for being here. So let me start with that. Let me pull up Chrome, and I will see who's out there. Let me see. At the bottom of your screen, I'm going to open this up, and I'll have this really weird effect when I do, of the screen seeing itself. Oh. Okay, but at the bottom of this, everybody in class can see this now, and everyone remotely can see this. This is how you respond when I say raise your hand. There's this little icon. So everybody, go ahead and raise your hand if you can hear me remotely. Okay, Stephen, I'm not seeing you say you can hear me, or are you in class? Okay, yeah. Go ahead and hit the hand so I don't have to sort that out in my brain. Is it Jacqueline or Jackie? Because I don't see Jackie responding. She says she's on phone, which is fine too. If that's where you're getting your audio, go ahead and let me see that I've got my audio up loud enough in here. Jackie, you have turn your mic on. Go ahead and talk to me, please. Go ahead. Jackie, if you can hear me, go ahead and talk. Yeah, sure can. Perfect. And that's true too. If you call in instead, some of the interactions are going to be a little different. No big deal. When I'm asking people to let me know they hear me, it's just to make sure that the technology isn't defying us. And today's first session is sort of going to be an introduction more than not to the technology as much as to the class. Okay, we're not going to do this every time, but we are going to do a few things along those lines today. So I'm going to move that stuff over here so I can still see that stuff on my second monitor, which is why I have this contraption in front of me. The people remotely can't see it. But I'm going to walk through a handful of slides here, and the first ones are going to be about how we're going to be able to conduct class, and I'll have each of you share a little bit as we go along today. And because this mic picks up really well, whatever you say, theoretically, the people in the distance will also hear. Okay, you can put your hands down. Thank you very much. Okay, so let's get started here. Welcome to the class. This is, if you saw the introduction video I put up, some of this will be redundant, but this is a fairly common course in colleges across the board, whether it's a four-year institution or not, that we want basically people come in to sort of know, what's going on. We have some students who are just, have already have a big background in higher education, or maybe you have studied previously, so you're not going to get as much out of the course as people who really aren't familiar with it. Myself, no one in my family had ever gone to college. To my knowledge, my parents graduated high school, but that's not a given. My grandparents, none of them went to high school because they all came from Norway and were farmers. So when I hadn't ever visited a college before, and I went to App State after being raised in Alaska, what happened was I heard that because my father had passed away, I would get Social Security $360 every month for 4 years if I went to college. And I said, hey, I like that. So I signed up, and I was in Alaska, but I wanted to get far away from Alaska because, well, backstory you don't hear about. Anyways, so I went to App State, and I'd never, I had visited one college in my life. I didn't know people who'd gone to college. So for me, if I had had a class like this, it would have been great. However, there are also all these other services that they have. And on this campus and around that, we're trying to introduce you. You can grab that back seat in the center if you'd like. But just know that that's the case, that this course is designed for that, and also to basically find out if people maybe need some study skill assistance, and there may be some of that. Or, you say, I actually take information real well, but I'm a slow reader. I don't know why that is. And then what strategies would you have to be able to succeed in a class that requires a lot of reading, and so on. So we're going to be going through a lot of that, but really it is just sort of cool to start in with at any kind of a college, and free information. Okay, the way it works is this. If you are an undergrad, which you all are, and you're not in a master's degree program, you're trying to learn a general field, just generally. If you're getting a master's degree, you're trying to find some specific stuff within that field. That's what a master's degree is for. And if you're working on your doctorate, the goal is that you are going to add to the field. So people who are studying for their doctorate, they're not learning from their professors. They're using their professors and their study as a way to increase the field. So if you are getting a doctorate in psychology, you're studying a certain set of psychologists perhaps, and you are writing a paper, and you're going to present that because you're adding to the field of psychology. So that's sort of cool. That's the whole ramp for higher education. And I just, all of this, I love it. And because people who haven't sort of gone into a higher education, good on them. But for people who do, you're giving yourself a semester or semesters or maybe years of your life to, in addition to living and supporting yourself and raising your kids if you have them, you're also giving part of yourself over to life of the mind. And I really am evangelical about that. I'm glad you guys are here, and I really hope that your time at Blue Ridge is terrific. This little campus has, and I've been on a number of campuses, and I'll give you my backstory as we move along as we get to know one another. But this little campus has the friendliest faculty I've ever worked with, and then likewise with the administration and stuff. Really, it's a very unique campus, Blue Ridge is. And I won't pursue that further, but that's sort of the beginning of this. Now, if you, funny, I left my hand up. Okay, well, let's just, first let's start with the technology. Okay, first thing to note is, hit record. See, I'm reminding myself. Okay, check. And this is only going to be today that we take as much time with this, but in the future, especially the remote folks, I need you to tell us if something's going wrong. Now, if people in here are in the chat, if you keep the chat open on your side, and I'll ask one of you to do that always, then if somebody in the chat comes to the chat window and says, hey, Kvalvik, say that again, or slow down, or I can't hear you, say that in chat, and I'm going to ask the people who have computers here to sort of keep their chat windows open, and then interrupt anytime you like. Now, at a class our size, if you interrupt with your mic, there's a chance that we won't hear it because I'm sort of dominating the airspace here. So feel free in chat to tell us if it's not working. Anyways, let's get going. Check. First of all, there's a lot of ways for us remotely to have some issues. As you know, if you've sat through any of these, you see this sort of like a tech circus, or a nightmare, depending on which class you're in. I think this can really work well as instructors sort of get their feet wet with technology. My background is I'm an instructional designer, and I've got I was telling you about how I'm sort of stoked about education. I went to Harvard and got a degree in educational technology, where I got to study education, but I also studied this same junk we're doing here. So that's my role here at college, is to assist faculty figure stuff out. And I figure both the pedagogy side, the teaching and learning end of it, and also the tech. So that's sort of my background. Let's move on. So what can go wrong? Let's just sort of talk. This is a slide I made for the faculty when I was doing training this summer. Let's see here. In the classroom, of course, if the speaker in here isn't on or loud enough, then we're not going to be able to hear the remote folks. And then the faculty have to have an audio set up, and then you can mute the microphone, so that's a problem. So if you're remote, you're going to be bumping into these same things. And then the volume on your app, so I'm showing a YouTube video, and my audio on my computer is loud. The audio on the speaker is okay, but I forgot to unmute YouTube. You know this stuff, but dang, there's so many things that can go wrong, so please be patient with all your instructors as you go through this whole semester. And then we have this mic selected, which should be able to pick you guys up pretty well. So let's see here. Not knowing your names yet. Let me, somebody, would you mind speaking out a little loudly so we can ask them if they can hear you? Okay, hey guys, remote people. We have a student at the back of the room who's about to say something. So if you hear her clearly, raise your hand. Go ahead. Just like hey, say guys. A little louder now, and a little more of a sentence. Go ahead, Sarah. Go ahead, ma'am.
Hey, my name is Sarah, and this is my first time at Blue Ridge.
Okay, thanks so much, Sarah. I appreciate it. Anyway, put your hands back down, everybody. And that tells us now we are a combined class. You folks and people, and when you are perhaps at home, same thing. There shouldn't be any kind of difference at all in terms of the experience, except, especially if I'm teaching from a slide, no one has to watch the blonde guy with the mask wander around the room. All of this whole thing where you just want people to see you is sort of disappearing. And then, of course, remotely, if we ask you to say something, you got to remember to unmute your mic. But at this point, you've all been through like 300 Zoom calls yourself. On the other hand, just real quickly, students, remote students, if you hear an echo effect and you're like, it's echoing, turn your volume down on your computer. Likewise, everyone here, this is just standard feedback. Feedback is the mic hears the speaker, hearing the mic, hearing the speaker, and it goes on forever until you get that crazy high-pitched sound. Okay, and then, of course, we've got to make sure they can hear us remotely, or when you're remote, that you can still hear, but keep it as low as you can for that. And then that's why a lot of people wear the headphones, and they can look like they're, some kind of working in some kind of a call center. Let's see, and then we just tested that somebody remote could hear us, so we know that's happening. So we have every reason to think that we can have an actual discussion as we move forward. Okay, so that's stuff. The next thing we need to do is find out if it's loud enough. And what one could do in this kind of a scenario is basically check the sound. See if we hear it from here. Not really loud enough to hear, but we'll have to come back to that. Anyway, so that's more stuff. Okay, we'll just ignore those prompts. We've already said it. And then another thing is there is, of course, a mobile app for Moodle or my courses, and it worked pretty well. The trouble is, if you're taking a test and you're like on your phone taking the test and you lose service, you lose your test, and then if it's set up to only allow you to be in one time, then you're contacting me going, hey, Kvalvik, I was in the middle of my test and I lost service. I will say that this is pretty cool. And I have used it. I can do pretty much everything on there as well. So that's worth noting. Okay, more stuff. Okay, here's an aside. We're just going to take a second and find out where you guys are. there's something called Maslow's hierarchy of needs. People remotely, do me a favor and raise your hand. Remote digitally, people in class, raise your hand. In person, that I won't have to say that every time when I say raise your hand. I mean, you guys don't need to click the button necessarily. But question, how many of you are familiar with Maslow's hierarchy of needs? Go ahead and show hands. Okay, a little bit, a couple other out there. Okay, it's good. So this won't be a waste of time. You can put your hands back down digitally, please. Alrighty, Maslow's hierarchy of needs is really important. Maslow came up with this thing about how we conduct our lives, essentially, in terms of what's most important. If everything else is going to be thrown away, if this basic thing here, your physiological needs, your physical needs, if you don't have air, water, food, shelter, you can't sleep, you need clothing to protect you from the weather or whatnot, or reproduction, if any of that's out of whack, nothing else matters. And we know that's true. That if you've ever, we got stranded. My dad was a game guy, and we were stranded on one side of the lake because something had gone wrong. My father had to go pick up stuff on the other side of the lake. So I'm standing there with my brother, and I'm like fifth grade or whatnot. And halfway through the day, I was hungry. Come dinner time, I haven't eaten all day long. I'm famished, and I've never been hungry before. And the reason I share that is because when you're hungry, nothing else matters. It's just that. Likewise, safety needs. If you feel that you are endangered or you can't support yourself, that has employment here, then nothing else matters. Even if you have the basic physiological stuff, if you are not safe, nothing else matters. So Maslow's hierarchy of needs, it says here's the platform. Everyone has to go here. Well, in this day and time with a disease going through that has affected some people and some people hasn't affected at all, we still, safety is this huge issue. So now everyone has to come and wear a mask. And you're like, I haven't even met anybody who knows somebody who's gotten this. So there's a real sort of give and take about how big a deal it is. But if you don't feel safe, it doesn't matter how good the instruction is, because you're not going to be taking it in. Next thing he says is love and belonging. Now this one I sort of get to, and tell me if you agree. Well, don't tell me, but think about it if you agree, because I don't want people to make confessions. When you just are smitten and you fall for somebody, and you go to class and you've just had a fight with them, and you sit down in class, it's like, oh man, you can't focus on anything because that becomes it. Now, bear in mind, you don't feel unsafe. You've got you've got other stuff going on there. But when it comes to love and belonging, that's huge, and we all know that. I share that with you because I realize that each of you come to this class, and each of you attending in the distance have your own. It's not like you're all Rousseau said a tabula rasa meant you're a blank slate when students come to school. Of course, kindergartners, that is not even so. But for you guys, you've all got lives and a lot going on. So, with all the other things you have going on in your life, if you don't feel safe, if you've lost your job, if you are in a bind and your family's hurting, it's going to be really hard to focus and somehow think that what we're doing here is important. I would posit that that's true. If you've got safety needs, if you can't support your family, or you have someone close to you who's up a creek, I get that. So please stay in touch this whole semester. The goal is that everyone makes every class. And if you guys who are in class today need to log in remotely, we'll talk about how that's going to work out too. Okay, and then next for Maslow is self-respect, esteem, that you feel important, that no one's slighting you. I've been in classes before, both in a graduate program and I was in classes, when I was younger, that this was the deal. I'm going to ask for another show of hands. This is just sort of curiosity here. Well, actually, what I'll do, I'm going to bring up a poll, and let's see. Remotely, are you seeing a poll appearing on your screen? And you can say so in chat. Somebody who's looking at chat, tell me what they're saying. Are they seeing the poll on their side?
Yes.
Okay, good. Alrighty. Question, and then people who don't have computers, you can feel free to vocalize if you'd like. When it comes to your education, I'm going to make a statement. You tell me if this is a strong yes for you or never. Have you ever been humiliated by an instructor or in a classroom setting? Go ahead and respond to the poll, please. And I can see who's responding. So this is important that everyone responds, because this tells me that everyone's plugged in. And I'll call you out if you don't, not to put you on the spot, because I'm asking a question about instructors and humiliating people. But I still have 3 with no response. And if you can't use the computer right now or something, let us know. Ella, Sarah Brown, and Veronica, if you can't participate, I get it. And Rihanna, you've got, it looks like your broadband isn't great on your side, so, but you can, here's what we got so far. We have, if for people who are seeing this, and I'll move it over, we have 3 no responses. We have 4 sort ofs, no and never. We don't have a lot of people who've had that experience so far in this class. Does anybody got a story that they would mind sharing? A real short narrative about something that happened in your education that you're still sort of bummed by to this day? Anybody want to share that? Raise your hand remotely if you'd like. And if I don't have people responding right now, that's cool too. Okay, we're not going to try to get into confessionals today, but it has been my experience that a lot of people have, when I taught in-service teaching, I would ask all my students, and these were largely adults who were getting ready to start their teaching career, about that. And I just heard so many stories about how lousy school has been for some folks. Realizing that, I want to make sure this is not one of those experiences for you. And then finally, he comes up with this concept of self-actualization. That is, you feel good in your own skin. You are comfortable with who you are. You're not, cringing because you're embarrassed. You're not too modest. You're not a braggart. You just sort of find the center ground, and that is called self-actualization. So that's Maslow's hierarchy of needs, and I'm sort of starting the class for that this year because I want you to know that I'm sort of aware of that all of you are, have your own stuff going on, and how important college is. It can seem pretty trivial, but this investment in knowing, if you invest in knowing in 3 or 4 years, you'll change greatly, and you won't even be aware of it. We're all essentially, as you know, the cliche, if you put a frog in a bucket of water and you bring it slowly to a boil, he won't hop out because there's a reptile. He's just changing with the temperature until it finally kills the frog. It's not a good illustration, but here's the thing. What's going to happen is if you devote yourself to study and knowing, you won't sense that you're changing, but you're changing. It's cool. It is, and everyone, you get a couple years in here, even if it seems like drudgery at times where you have all these assignments, you're trying to keep up with that. You're trying to keep up in your own life, and you've got family stuff and whatnot, and then you're at work. Maybe it's challenging as well. I'm just going to say a lot can happen in this amount of time. Let's talk about the norms for this class. And some of these won't seem really to inform this class specifically, but we'll see. First of all, we're all basically dealing with crisis management at some point. Each of your lives, I'm sure there's a lot going on where you're trying to sort of focus on this. A lot of people have been put out of work, and then some people are going back into school because of that. And then some people, well, I won't go into all the variations on theme, but there are quite a few, and I realize that's where we are now in terms of crisis management for this. And I'm just going to encourage you, for this class especially, relax. Please attend. Don't let assignments disappear on you. The goal is, this is an A. You're going to do everything here. You're getting an A, so at the beginning of your college career, you walk away with that first A going, yeah, I killed it. So that's what the goal is here. Then I'm going to take roll at the beginning of class. By taking roll, I'm going to have you do an assignment. So let me show you real quickly. If you haven't already done it, if you have, God bless you. Okay, which one of these? This guy here. Okay. If you're looking remotely, please note the same thing here. You can always go to Chrome while Collaborate's open, and you can climb back into the shell itself. If you've got your computer with you today, do this. If you don't, not a problem, but try to get online sometimes today and do this. And you're going to see at the top of this, it says, and we're going to look through a lot of the stuff on this as we move forward. It says, are you here on time today? Go ahead and click that quiz, everybody. And if you have already done it, you'll see what it's going to say is, yeah, I was here on time, and I got here on time, and I stayed the entire time, and that's your whole quiz, and that reports to the grade book as a 10 points for that. And every class meeting we have, which is going to be 8 weeks, twice, so 16 class meetings, 160 points. Participation and attendance is a large part of your grade because this interaction, not me just running on, because today's going to be a little unusual in that regard, is going to give you points. So if you haven't done this, sometime before midnight tonight, please check in and tell me. Now, I have a report that also is furnished that whoever logs in to Collaborate, I have a report on that, and then I'll know in class who has been here as well. But this is easier. This way, you automatically get points for attendance. So please do that. You can see that there's several different answers there. If you say you were late or had to leave early, it's 90 instead of 100%, so it's not like a big deal. And then if you miss completely and you plan on watching the video, then you can do that and you get points for that as well. And then if you just miss completely, maybe you're sick and you not only don't want to come to class, you don't want to even turn on your computer in your bed. I get it. If you're anything going on at all, don't come to class. But email me. And the goal is I keep 100% track of every single one of you guys as you work through this first semester. And if you're struggling, and I've done this enough that about 25% of the class has stuff come up, then I need to know that, and I'm going to work with you. But the goal is everybody gets an A, and everyone walks away totally understanding what goes on at Blue Ridge. Okay. I will, at times I may use an online Google Doc for you to sign up for things, this and that, and that's another fashion for taking roll. And then if any of you have any kind of disabilities or accessibility issues where you can't hear or you can't see something, maybe you're colorblind or you're hard of hearing or there's something going on, please make sure I know that. I can change all the assignments in here to make sure that they reach everybody. But if I've got any one of you privately email me and say, hey, Kvalvik, I'm having trouble because of this or that, let me know. That's crucial. We actually have a total of 60 students right now who are have some accessibility needs, and that's job one. Okay, and then when you log in to Collaborate, go ahead and make sure your camera's working and your mic's working, because if I call on you remotely, I'm going to ask you to turn on your camera and your mic. If you have a camera and you're using the phone, that still works fine. If you can't see but you're just on the phone, that's not ideal, but just once again, let me know that. But I need you to make sure your camera's working and your mic is working, because you'll have checked those like every Zoom call you've ever done. Formal language. Formal language isn't that we're dressing things up. I just don't want people to be really casual in their speech. If I call on you, try to give an informed, intelligent answer. But I prefer people aren't just saying something comical or sarcastic ever. And that's true in the chats that we have and the forums that we have. I need you to use formal language. And we'll be talking about the Flipgrid. Let me see, another show of hands for remote and local. I already put up in the course, and I can't imagine anybody's already done it because it was just turned on this morning. I've got a couple of things about Flipgrid and Remind. Anybody who is familiar with those, raise your hand, please. Okay, there's a couple of people here, and there's Several people out there. Awesome, awesome. Okay. Thank you very much. You can put your hands back down, everybody. So about half of everyone are familiar with that. Flipgrid is this little app that I'll show you specific later. But ultimately, and I'm going to share a camera, guys. I know the people watching the slides are like probably thinking that's a good thing. Anyways, and I will share the camera moving forward. So here in a moment, it'll take a couple of seconds. The people remotely are seeing from this camera, which means these three desks, and you guys are all sort of in the shot, and I am as well. Hey. Anyways, Flipgrid is this app that you can get on this, and you don't even have to sign up for it. I have an account with Flipgrid. I'll send you a QR code or a number, and you can log in, and what will happen is you'll be able to, after you see the video prompt I give, you'll be able to hit record and say, hey, yeah, what you just asked about Kvalvik, that's true to me as well. And you'll give like a 30-second, 45-second response. You'll all see one another's, and I'll ask you to watch all each other's. And the goal is that instead of just being a forum, a chat forum, which I'm sort of suspect about how valuable those are, you will be able to see one another even if it's embarrassing. And this is true for you guys remotely as well, or especially, make sure you're dressed at least from the waist up for class. I don't mean you have to wear a suit and tie or a dress, but if you're sitting in your PJs, that is not cool, okay? I'd really rather you sort of look like you respect your classmates and stuff. It's like nobody is walking here in PJs, but yeah, of course you did. I guess I shouldn't say anything. Okay, so Flipgrid, that's one of the things we're going to use. And then we are also going to use Remind, which I don't know which the hands went up for, which is sort of related, same company. And Remind is an SMS service, so it's not enough that I email you too often and then I talk to you too much. On top of that, I'll also be able to SMS you from this service, Remind, for which you have to sign up if you want to get those. Or I can coerce you into signing up. You'll get reminders and it will say, hey, this is due Friday, please remember that, and you'll just get a little text message. Or if, for instance, class were canceled or something like that, I'd be able to text everybody and it would all work. So those a couple things we're going to be doing here in the very near future. And now I'm going to wander back to the other, the application screen. And there we go, sharing that, and they'll be seeing that in just about a couple of seconds. All right. Got a question. This is I'm bringing up the poll again. I'm going to clear the answers previously. Hide the responses. Okay. People remotely, are you seeing the poll in front of you? Are you guys seeing the poll on your screen? Yes. Okay, good. All right. Question: how valuable do you think being in a chat session with your classmates will be? Do you feel it will be valuable? And everybody respond, please. Okay, I have 7 no responses, 4 no responses, 3 no responses. Okay, I'm still going to take my 3 no responses, and if people are having trouble with responding, Ella and no, you responded. I'm sorry, Rihanna. I see you didn't respond, and if you're like on a phone, you can't. Just send me an email and tell me why that is. But I've still got a few no responses. Okay, so I'll show everybody the responses, right? And that'll show up on your screen, and then in class, if you don't have it, you'll see that as well. So a lot of you see there's a lot of value in that. So that's good for me to know, and that will dictate part of the stuff I do moving forward. Because it really will have to put you in some chat sessions and forums. And the way those work is this. I'll put up a prompt, and I'll say, as we're discussing use of the library, and you have a project that you're working on, let's pretend. And then I will say, okay, go ahead and tell me, give me an idea of what you would like to study or to research, and then I ask you to respond to 2 other people. So what happens in that is you find out a little something about one another, and there are going to be people that you are totally opposite of, but hopefully you'll find people who are also similar to you or share your values or share your interests. And if you can get to know other folks here, and maybe you do already, but the studies show that students who are in study groups, who find that they have a group with whom they are associated, are vastly more likely to persist. Persist is the word that we use for not dropping out. So persistence is the goal. And if you guys get to know one another, not, you know, it's good. I have a very disparate group in ACA. Last time I did this, half of my students were over 30, and most of those had children at home. So they had a whole set of stuff going on. And then this time we'll find out, because I share that. I'm going to clear that. Responses. Okay. I'm going to share that, and I'm going to ask you guys to approach some of that here as we move forward. Let me bring that down. Okay. So formal language, I think we covered that. Let me make sure everyone's seeing the same thing. We are? All right. Chat in this class, not a forum where I'm asking you to fill stuff out. Within this class, you can chat with one another. So if you have somebody you already know who's in this group, you can just click their name and you can chat with, and you can share things back and forth, which is totally cool. I don't care about that, but understand, while it's, other people can't see it, on my side I can. I have the records of all the chats. So if you are sharing stuff you would rather I didn't bump into, please don't do that. But otherwise, you can communicate as much as you're inclined. It's what I'm encouraging. I'm encouraging the students to get to know one another, remote students, local students, because that once again is against persistence. And I'll just sort of pass on that. Moderator +1. That is, for this class, I'm going to find a way to do it where I'm going to ask a few of you to please volunteer during classes to bring me, to interrupt me locally in the room. If someone's in chat saying, hey, dope, I disagree with that, I would say, okay, great. Well, and you would say, hey, dope, Marcia disagrees. And then I would say, okay, Marcia, turn on your mic and your camera. Let's find out, where I'm messing up. That, by the way, is awesome education. When you get to look at your instructor and say that, I disagree with that. And then that's adversarial learning, which, by the way, that's all I got. I've never been in a class where I learned anything unless I was sitting there sort of arguing with the instructor in my head. And I don't know why that is. It probably means I'm broken. But adversarial learning is cool. Let me see a show of hands. How many of you consider yourself adversarial learners? And you can just raise your hand here. Anybody else an arguer at heart? Okay, I got 1, 2, okay, 3. Okay, and a couple out there. Okay, you can put your hands back down. Thanks, Dylan and Hannah. I argue in my mind all the time. I watch the news and I'm just, arguing. But every instructor I've had, but except for just like 3 or 4. Okay, I'll move on. Okay, more stuff. The 3 things we're going to have to consider here is basically the technology in our classroom. And I'll run through these real fast here. This does totally apply here, but I want you to be conscious of it because this is going to affect what happens in the next 2 semesters of your life, maybe 3, after which time we all get to go back to being normal. So in classroom, we have to project remotely, of course. I've got to make sure they're saying the same thing you are. But I also, at intervals, would like them to see, you more than me. So we have all that going on. We have a camera, microphone you guys are going to have set up. And of course, we also need to know how to use Collaborate, which we'll talk about a little bit more right now. Okay. I'll just skip through that. And I've got some slides talking about what kind of education we're moving towards now, but I won't bore you with those because we're going to be running out of time before I get where I need to go. Okay, here's something you need to know. Let's see. I can share the camera, of course, remotely, and I can share the computer remotely, which I'm doing right now. But everybody who's remote, please notice, and this is true for people in the class right now, I just want you to know that this functionality is there. What you'll see right now is if you take and you touch this little thing in the corner, that'll bring up the camera that's live. in the background. I think I set that camera to be this one. Guys, go ahead and click that in that lower right-hand corner if you get it here. Is it bringing up this camera?
Yes.
Okay, great. What that means is if you're remote and I've got slides up and you're like, is everybody else's board designed? You can click that button and you can see the class all drifting off to sleep, or back and forth. Or if one of you is asking a question and I've got a slide up there, remotely they can click that, and if you're sort of within the scope of the camera, they'll see you. Or I can swivel the camera around while you're talking so that you see your fellow students. So just so you know, that is there where you can click that and see the camera, or you can click that and see the slide, and that'll go back and forth. So that's just, please know that. And I'm going to pass on Bloom's taxonomy, although also important stuff. I won't pass completely. Bloom's taxonomy. Let's see. I want you to do something different. I'm going to show you guys real quickly remotely. This is another computer deal for those who don't have your computer. Whoops, wrong one. If you have this up and you come down and tap your icon in the middle, so everybody please do that if you have your computer. Go down and tap your little icon where it says my status and sharing. Look at those. See, look, if you agree and disagree, you get faster, slower, surprised, confused. And if you do that, what will happen is it will populate on my side that you agree or disagree. Okay? So I'm going to ask you to give me a smiley face if you have heard of Bloom's taxonomy, and I'm going to give you a sad face if you haven't. Everybody please click one of those. What happens now is they populate here of all these sad faces, except for Jack right now, Jackie's on the phone. It populates all these sad faces that haven't heard of it, which helps me. The cool thing for me and for your other courses is those will disappear in a minute. So it's not like you have to lower your hand or anything. But if I say, hey, am I going too fast or too slow, which I probably won't ask, you have faster and slower as options. If you are just trying to make a statement that something we're covering sort of bugs you, you can put a sad face up there. Also totally in bounds. We've all been in classes all our life. We know the people who are unhappy to be there. It's true at a glance. Okay, so free information. Let's move on. Bloom's taxonomy, real fast, is knowledge, comprehension, application, analysis, synthesis, and evaluation. That's the order of understanding. Knowledge just means you remember something. So if you were told as a child, this is an apple, you can remember this is an apple. Okay. You may not get that, but it's your first word. But the same thing, if they ask you to memorize Bloom's taxonomy, you can memorize that, have it in your head, and that is knowing. But it's not comprehending. Comprehending is what we're working on at the higher education level, and that is where you have some knowledge of what an apple is, essentially, or if we were looking at this, you don't just have a list memorized, which is memorization is so overrated when we all have Google, but you actually comprehend why it's important. Okay, but more than that, you know how to apply it, perhaps. So we explain how a certain kind of learning is important. You say, oh yeah, that sure is, and then you start practicing it. That's application. However, I've said this is important, and you say, oh yeah, I get that, and then you disagree. Basically, analysis is you're thinking, do I agree with that or not? And that's the higher order thinking skills. It's not enough that you memorize it, you know, but you guys are all, functioning adults. You should be pushing back. You should be arguing. If not allowed, this is my adversarial learner thing again. That's analysis. Analysis is when you study it, you look at it, you begin to pick it apart a little bit. But what if you come up with something new? I suggest a certain way to bake a pie. Let's say you're in Culinary Institute. It happens. You're in Culinary Institute. You get knowledge. You comprehend that knowledge. You understand what the recipe's about. Then you can cook it, and you cook it and you don't like it. That's the analysis part. And then you're like, I think it just has too much cumin. I don't know what cumin is, by the way. But what happens is if you have if you have that knowledge, that's higher order. That's what we're looking for here. We want you to be picking through it. We want you to be coming up with your own responses and synthesis. And then evaluation is after you've made this new thing, maybe it's culinary soup, you make pie, and then you changed it because, I prefer this. That's synthesis. You change something new. Now, you figure that out and you taste that and you're like, still like the kind of, on a very basic level, that's evaluation. Our goal for this semester and really for your college term is to not learn like I'm memorizing X, Y, Z. It is to hear stuff, think about it enough that you can generate your own concepts and evaluate whether it's any good. That's Bloom's taxonomy. It is crucial. Okay, almost done. Get this off there. All right, let's see what we got. I'm going to skip ahead. There's not a whole lot to skip to. Okay. Here is a thing. We're going to think about groups. Groups are, I am at intervals going to have you break into groups here, and then I'll have the other people break into groups. I'll put them in groups digitally, and then I'll have you talking about or considering a concept. Now in this room, we can still pull that off, where we can have 3 people over here standing 6 feet apart, and 3 people and 3 people, or we have a deck out there behind, so people in person. Digitally though, you remote folks, what you can do is I can just put you in groups. Now I'm going to do this for a second while I show people what I'm doing, and I will put you in a group. You're going to be in a group for just about 30 seconds. You won't have time to do much, but if you turn on your mics, you'll only talk to each other. Turn on your cameras, you'll only be showing that to your group. So what that does for us is it allows me to have you guys meet each other. And if they're randomized, then you'll be talking to everybody in the class before it's all said and done. And that really is the goal. So let me show you that idea. And then, so I'll go to here. Now, if you're seeing the board, and I know you all are, I'm going to go to breakout groups. And this will break out even people who are here into groups. And those people won't have to participate in their digital group unless they choose to. So look, I now have groups. I have these 2 groups, but I actually want to have 3 groups. Thank you. So I'm going to have 3 groups. And 2 groups of 3, 1 group of 4. And that's who those groups are. And then when I put you in the group, and I'm going to, you won't hear me anymore. I know, how sad for you. We just have a couple minutes. And then I'm going to pull you right back out of those. But this is how that's going to work. So I'll start the group. What's happening on your computers for those who have those is you're being randomly put into that group. And if you wanted to participate in that group in chat, or if you have the headphones, you can hear those. But if you turn your speaker, of course, it's chaos in here. And then I would have the rest of you sort of break into groups and to talk about certain things. I'm not going to give you a group project where there's 1 person who does all the work and 3 people who do it great. But that's the idea of breaking people into groups. Just know that happens. Now I'm going to bring one. Okay then. Everyone should be coming back to the room. And it'll take a second for them all to populate. But as you're coming back, that's what it is to be put into groups. And we'll be doing that some. So that's how the class is going to work. Let's do one last thing, the last couple of minutes. I just want to show you what needs to happen. I'm going to go back to our course. Please go with me if you're remote. Go look at this with me. Here's what we got. You can see all the chapters coming on mine because I don't have a student view. I have the instructor view. So everybody can see what we have coming. This is going to be 8 weeks. This week we're doing course home and getting started stuff. What I'm going to ask you to do is go down through each one of these. Every single one of these. Click it. A lot of them are pages they'll open up. They're assignments they'll open up. You've already done a quiz. At least a lot of you have. And those who haven't, please, like I said, do that as well. So go through each of these steps. Read every word, pretty please, and then respond. And I'll be sort of charting your progress on my side. Then go to the getting started thing. Getting started asks you to take the solo confirmation course. and then take a quiz. Solo is a student online learning orientation course. If you already taken it, you don't have to take it twice. But there's another course that showed up in your course list, and that's Solo. You have to take that, and there's an orientation quiz right here. Just you read through that, and it'll explain it to you. And then I'm going to ask you about you guys, about your ask questions about who you are and everything else. That's what we got. You guys are awesome. Anybody who has questions, you can put those up in chat. I'll read them. People who are here, I'm sorry today was just me running my mouth and you guys not communicating. From now on, it's going to be a whole lot more of you guys interacting with me and each other. But welcome. Thanks so much for being here. It's a pleasure. Take it easy. Everybody who didn't have a computer, log in to that thing that said you're here before the end of the day. It's all due next Monday. Have a great day.
Hi.
Hey,
I'm Sarah. I have a disability book review. I got one from the disability
awesome.
office.
Thanks so much.
Yeah. It's 3 things. Done. Deaf and one ear.
Okay, thank you very much for telling me this. Do you keep I keep this?
You keep that one. I have a copy in my note.
Okay, great. And tell me your name again?
Sarah.
Sarah. Okay, Sarah. Is that last name Kano or Kano?
Kano.
Kano. Okay. I got it. I'll learn names next Tuesday. It's a pleasure. Thanks for giving me this.
Thank you.